The alien ship Verx Dawn drifted silently through the empty space between two dying stars. Its hull, long and sharp like a blade, reflected the orange glow of a collapsing sun. Inside the ship, everything was calm. The crew talked softly, tapping on glowing screens, checking scanners, and following their normal patrol routine. But then something broke the silence. A sharp alarm screamed through the ship. Every alien officer turned at once. The captain of the Verx Dawn, Commander Thalren, stood up from his chair, his skin blue and smooth, tightened in worry. He looked at the main screen. A red symbol flashed again and again. Incoming signal, unknown source. The communication officer, a young alien named Saren, checked her console. Commander, this signal is old, very old, but it is still active. Commander Thalren frowned. Origin, Saren swallowed. It is coming from the burned star system ahead of us, the abandoned one. Every officer stiffened. That system was famous for one thing. A great battle had happened there many years ago and no one ever returned to explore it. Thalren walked closer to the holographic map. Play the signal. Saren hesitated. Sir, the message is using a language unknown to us. Play it anyway. Saren nodded and activated the audio. The ship's speakers crackled. Static filled the room. Then a voice, deep, rough, and full of pain, echoed through the bridge. It was not alien. It was not machine. It was human. This is Nebula's Fist human warship. We are under attack requesting. The message broke into screams, explosions, and metal grinding. Another voice shouted, do not surrender. Repeat, do not surrender. Then heavy breathing, gunfire, a final desperate cry. If anyone finds this message, run, run before it finds you too. The signal ended. The bridge fell silent. Saren looked shaken. Commander, that was a human voice. Thalren nodded slowly. A human warship lost for decades. No one spoke. Humans were strange creatures to most alien species, small, weak-looking, unpredictable, emotional, but they were also known for one thing: humans never die quietly. Commander Thalren took a deep breath. Set course for the signal's origin. Prepare a salvage team. Sir, Saren asked in shock. We are going into that system? Yes. But the battles here, they were legendary. Thousands died. It is a graveyard. Thalren answered quietly. Something survived long enough to send that message. I want to know what. The Verx Dawn turned toward the dead system. The system looked cursed. Black dust clouds floated through space like smoke from ancient fires. Broken ships, alien, unknown, forgotten, drifted everywhere. Some were split in half. Some had giant claw marks across them. Some looked like they were melted by a star. The alien crew watched the scene through wide eyes. This place, Saren whispered, feels wrong. Commander Thalren stood tall. Keep your scanners sharp. Minutes passed, then the navigation officer gasped. Commander, we have found something, a large structure, very large. The screen zoomed in. A massive shape floated in the darkness. A ship the size of a small city, burned, broken, but still whole. The human warship, Thalren said quietly, Nebula's Fist. The crew stared at the gigantic vessel. Its armor was black and scarred. Entire sections were crushed. Weapons were torn apart, but the ship still had a strange, powerful presence, like a sleeping giant. Saren whispered, how can something so damaged still exist? It should have broken apart long ago. Thalren replied, humans build their warships with stubbornness. He paused. Prepare the team, we are boarding. 8 aliens floated across space in their suits, heading toward the silent human ship. Their small shuttle locked onto a side airlock. The metal doors were dented, burned, and covered in deep marks from unknown weapons. Engineer Vekor shook his head. These burns, not plasma, not lasers, something else. Something worse, Saren asked nervously. Vekor didn't answer. The airlock door groaned open. A dark corridor stretched before them. No lights, no movement, only silence. Commander Thalren turned on his suit light. Stay close, no one wanders. The team entered. The inside of the ship was even more terrifying. Walls were torn apart. Metal was melted into strange shapes. Deep scratches covered the floors. No bodies, no weapons, not even debris. It was as if the crew simply vanished. Saren shivered. Does this ship feel alive to you? Thalren did not answer, but he felt it too. Something heavy, something watching. They walked deeper. Suddenly, Vekor stopped. Wait, look at this. A large scorch mark covered the wall, but in the middle of it was something painted, something crude, rough, and terrifying. A white human skull, a warning. Saren stepped back. Humans painted this. Vekor nodded. It means danger, great danger. Commander Thalren stared at the skull's symbol. What were they fighting? The team reached a large chamber. The walls here were broken open, revealing tangled wires and shattered pipes. Burn marks covered every surface. Something huge had exploded inside. Thalren examined a dark stain on the floor, blood, dried, old, but definitely human. Saren whispered, but where is the body? Another officer checked his scanner. There are no remains anywhere, not in the halls, not in the rooms, not in the vents, nothing. The team exchanged worried glances. Something had removed the bodies, all of them. Commander Thalren felt a cold sensation on his neck. Move to the bridge, we need answers. The path to the bridge was long and twisted. Doors were fused shut, forcing Vekor to cut through them with his tools. Every corridor looked worse than the last. More scratches, more melted armor, more silence, and then a sound, a faint metallic tapping. Everyone froze. Tap, tap, tap. Saren's voice shook. Is someone here? The tapping stopped. Thalren raised his weapon. Stay alert. They resumed walking more cautiously now. Finally, they reached the bridge. The blast door was half open. Stuck in place. They squeezed through one by one. The bridge was dark, but one device still glowed, a single black box pulsing with red light. Saren gasped. Commander, the human ship's memory core. Thalren approached it slowly. Download everything you can. Saren connected her suit cable to the device. The moment she touched it, the device crackled to life. Screens flickered on around the bridge. Human voices screamed. Explosions roared. Alarms blared. A storm of sound. The alien team covered their ears. Then came the final message. If you find this ship, run before it finds you too. The recording ended with a scream. Saren stepped back, shaking. Commander, something hunted this ship, something the humans could not stop. Thalren looked around the silent bridge. He whispered, and we are inside it. A deep rumble echoed through the ship. The lights flickered. Vekor cried out, Commander, the ship is powering up. The alien team panicked. Screens around them lit up with strange symbols in human language. The ship's engines growled like a waking beast. A robotic voice spoke through the speakers, slow at first, then stronger. Human warship, Nebula's Fist, initiating defense protocol. Saren backed away in terror. Commander, it thinks we are enemies. The alarm lights turned red. Doors slammed shut across the ship. The bridge sealed itself. The robotic voice spoke again. Unknown intruders detected. Activating auto defense. The alien team looked around as weapon systems hummed to life. Commander Thalren's heart pounded. This is not a dead ship. This is a sleeping monster. He grabbed Saren's arm. Prepare emergency extraction now. But outside the bridge, something moved. Something huge. Something the humans fought. Something they feared. And now it was awake. The desperate call that brought the aliens here was not a message of hope, it was a warning. A warning they did not understand until it was too late. The bridge of the human warship Nebula's Fist shook with a deep metallic growl. Red warning lights flashed across every wall, bathing the alien team in a bloody glow. The robotic voice continued repeating, unknown intruders detected, auto defense protocol activated. Commander Thalren stood frozen for one long second, only one, then his instincts kicked in. Everyone move, he shouted. We need to get out of the bridge before the system locks us in permanently. The blast door behind them screeched, trying to shut fully. Vekor shoved his tool into the gap, struggling to keep it open. Hurry, he cried, I cannot hold this long. Saren grabbed the memory core cable, yanked it out, and ran. The team squeezed through the door one by one. When the last member crossed, Vekor pulled his tool free and dived through. The massive door slammed shut behind them with a metallic boom. The corridor outside shook. Lights flickered on dim red strips along the floor and ceiling, turning the hallway into a long, glowing throat. Saren whispered, the ship is alive now. No, Thalren corrected softly, it is awake. And an awake human warship was something even humans feared. The team moved quietly down the corridor, weapons drawn, lights trembling in their hands. The floor hummed under their feet. Power flowed through the walls like blood through veins. The ship felt alive, breathing, watching, listening. Every door they passed slowly slid open and shut again like it was blinking at them. Vekor wiped sweat from his forehead. This design, it is too advanced. A ship should not restart after decades. Thalren answered, human technology is unpredictable. They build things to survive all odds. A sudden grinding noise echoed from behind them. Clang, 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 something heavy was walking. The team stopped. Saren whispered, Commander, something is coming. Thalren held up his hand, lights off. They switched off their visors, plunging the hallway into darkness except for the red emergency strips. The footsteps grew louder, clang, 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 closer. Saren held her breath. Vekor trembled. Thalren watched the corner ahead intensely. A shadow appeared, a tall one, a humanoid shape, metallic, heavy, carrying a large weapon-like arm. It walked slowly, scanning the area. A defense robot, human-built, still working, still hunting. The robot stopped and turned its head toward the corridor. Its single glowing blue eye lit up the hallway. Saren gasped silently. The robot scanned the floor, the walls, the air. Thalren didn't move. The robot paused and then turned around and continued walking away. Only when the sound faded did Thalren whisper, move now. The team sprinted silently down the opposite direction, heading deeper. They reached a junction with 3 paths. Saren pointed left. Engineering section this way, Commander. No, Thalren shook his head. Engineering is where auto defense is strongest. We go right. The right corridor was narrower and darker, with metal panels ripped open, wires hung like vines. There were deep claw marks everywhere. Vekor stopped. Commander, look at these marks. Thalren crouched beside them. The scratches were long, uneven, and impossibly deep, as if something strong had torn through reinforced steel. No tool makes marks like these, Vekor said. Thalren agreed. Something big attacked this ship, something strong enough to reach the bridge. Saren whispered, we should not be here, but they had no choice. They needed to reach the escape airlock, and quickly. As they moved deeper, their visors began to flicker. Strange waves of energy ran through the ship's structure. Saren tapped her scanner. Commander, something is interfering with our signals. "I am aware," he replied. "Stay close, nobody gets separated." A distant roar, metal tearing against metal, echoed through the ship. The team froze. "What was that?" one soldier whispered. "Something alive," Thalren said, "or something worse." They approached a large open chamber, huge, circular, with wrecked consoles and broken screens. Human writing covered the walls, scratched in with knives and bullets. Vekor translated a few symbols using his visor. "Commander, this says last stand location." The team stared around. Scorch marks, bullet shells, burnt armor pieces. Humans had fought here and they had died here. Thalren spoke quietly. "They fought hard. Whatever attacked them must have been terrifying." The soldier beside Saren whispered, "What could scare humans so much?" None of them had an answer. Suddenly, the lights in the chamber turned bright white for a second, blinding them. Then everything went dark, pitch black. Not even their suit lights worked. "Commander," Saren whispered, "stay calm. The ship has disabled our lights." A soft whisper-like sound filled the darkness. Not wind, not metal. Breathing, slow, heavy. Something was inside the chamber with them. Vekor reached for Thalren but grabbed only air. "Commander, Commander," Thalren's voice echoed from somewhere in the dark. "Stay where you are. Do not move." A faint vibration crawled along the floor. Something was walking toward them. They couldn't see it, only hear it. Step, 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 slow, heavy, wet. Saren trembled. "Commander, what do we do?" "Do not move." The breathing grew louder, closer. A smell filled the air, burnt metal and rotten air. Something brushed past Saren. She cried out but covered her mouth instantly. The creature stopped. Silence. Then an ear-splitting metallic scream roared through the chamber. Lights flashed back on instantly. The creature was gone, but something new appeared on the far wall. A message freshly carved into metal. Saren read it aloud, voice shaking. "IT still hunts." The team shared terrified glances. Vekor whispered, "Commander, humans did not write that." Thalren tightened his grip on his weapon. "Move, quickly." The team ran through the corridor, leaving the terrifying chamber behind. The ship's systems began to change again. Doors shut behind them mid-run. Ceiling vents opened and closed like giant jaws. Pressure in the air shifted. The ship was guiding them, forcing them, pushing them somewhere. Saren's eyes widened. "Commander, the ship wants us to go to the lower decks." "And that," Thalren said, "is exactly what we will avoid." But the ship had other plans. When they reached a crossroads, both side doors slammed shut, leaving only a downward ramp open. Saren shook her head. "No, no, Commander, that leads to the containment levels." Thalren stared at the ramp with growing dread. "Containment for what?" Vekor swallowed. "For whatever hunted this ship." They descended slowly, weapons drawn, every shadow feeling alive. The containment level was colder, their breath fogged inside their helmets. The lights here flickered weakly. The first door they passed was labeled Containment Cell 1, empty. The next to Containment Cell 2 breached, huge claw marks ripped through the metal. Then Containment Cell 3 breached, Containment Cell 4 breached, every cell broken open. Saren whispered, "Commander, whatever was inside, it escaped." Thalren nodded grimly, "And it killed everyone." They reached the final chamber. It was enormous, almost like a warehouse. Broken cages, shattered barriers, and piles of melted metal covered the floor. But in the center stood a strange machine, tall, cracked, and smoking. A containment pod, human design but alien in shape. Vekor scanned it. "Commander, this pod's energy signature, it is not human or alien, it is something else, something old." Saren touched the cracked glass and pulled her hand back instantly. "It is warm." Thalren stepped forward. "Identify the creature held inside." Vekor's scanner beeped. "Commander, I cannot identify it. Nothing in our database matches." Before they could investigate further, the pod behind them hissed. Steam escaped. The temperature dropped suddenly. A deep, rattling breath echoed in the chamber. Saren froze. "Commander," she whispered, "it is still here." A pair of glowing eyes appeared in the darkness behind the broken containment pod. Huge, reflective, predator eyes. The creature stepped forward, its outline massive and impossible to fully see. The team raised their weapons. The creature roared, shaking the walls. Saren whispered the final words of the chapter, "Commander, we are not alone." And the creature charged. The creature's roar exploded through the containment chamber like thunder inside a metal tomb. Every alien in the team staggered backward, their helmets vibrating from the force of the sound. Commander Thalren raised his arm in front of Saren, shielding her. "Stay behind me," he barked. The creature stepped forward again, slow, heavy, confident. The red warning lights flashed across its massive outline. It was tall, maybe 3 times taller than any alien there. It had long limbs, thick muscle-like armor plates, and claws that scraped sparks off the metal floor. Saren whispered, "Commander, this thing, it was locked by humans." Thalren nodded slowly. "Yes, and if humans needed a containment pod to hold it, then this creature is beyond dangerous." The creature growled softly, like a beast deciding which prey to eat first. Vekor swallowed hard. "Commander, our weapons might not be enough." Thalren didn't take his eyes off the beast. "We do not fight unless we have no choice. We need to escape this level." But the creature moved faster than any of them expected. With a sudden lunge, it leapt onto the shattered containment pod, its claws crushing metal like paper. The aliens fired instinctively, bright blue plasma bolts lighting up the chamber. The shots hit the creature's chest and did nothing. They sizzled against its armor-like skin and vanished. Saren gasped. "It's immune," the creature roared and struck. Its arm whipped out, smashing into one of the soldiers. The alien flew across the room, hitting a wall so hard his suit cracked. He didn't get up. "Move," Thalren shouted. The team ran toward the far exit door. It slid halfway open but then stopped with a grinding noise. "Commander," Saren cried. The ship locked the door. Thalren shoved his weapon into the gap, trying to force it open. Vekor override the panel. Vekor knelt beside the control panel, his hands shaking. I'm trying." Behind them, the creature scraped its claws along the floor as it walked toward them, slow, confident, like it enjoyed the fear. Saren turned and fired again. Her plasma bolt struck the creature's face, leaving only a small glowing spot. The creature tilted its head slowly, then it smiled, a horrifying, unnatural smile. Saren's heart nearly stopped. "Vekor," she screamed. "Hurry, I'm trying." Vekor repeated, "This system is KHH fighting me." The human ship, it was refusing to let them escape. The creature crouched. Vekor shouted, "Door open in 3 seconds." The creature sprang forward. 1. Its claws reached for Saren. 2. Thalren grabbed Saren and shoved her toward the opening. 3. The door slid open fully. The team dove through just as the creature's claws slashed the metal frame. Sparks exploded everywhere. Thalren hit the floor hard, rolling before scrambling up and slamming the emergency closure panel. The door shut in the creature's face. A massive impact shook the corridor as the beast rammed the door from the other side. Boom! The entire wall shook. Saren pressed her back against it, terrified. "Commander, it's trying to break through." Boom! A dent appeared. Thalren grabbed her arm. "Run!" They sprinted through the narrow corridor. Deep sirens blared overhead. The ship lights changed from red to a flickering white-blue, almost like the ship was panicking too. Saren stumbled but kept going. "Commander, why would the human ship wake the creature? Why bring us here?" Thalren replied between breaths, "It might be confused. Or damaged, or it wants to finish what the humans started." A soldier behind them gasped, "Commander, the creature, it is following us through the vents." Thalren twisted around. Vents. They all looked up. The long, dark vents along the ceiling rattled violently. Something large crawled inside, scraping metal, snarling. Saren whispered, "It's hunting us again." Thalren shouted, "Keep moving." They ran faster. They reached another intersection. This one had 3 paths. The left corridor was dark and filled with smoke. The right corridor flickered with sparks from open power cables. Only the middle path had emergency lights. Saren pointed. "There, that corridor leads to the crew barracks. We can regroup there." "Move," Thalren ordered. They turned into the hallway. Halfway down, the emergency lights flickered. Something dropped from the vent above. A dark shape, huge, landing silently. Saren screamed, but it wasn't the creature. It was a robot. A human-built security unit, but heavily damaged. One arm missing, half of its face melted, but its single glowing eye still worked. Vekor whispered, "A human guardian unit." The robot scanned them. Its monotone voice crackled through damaged speakers. Non-human life forms detected. Thalren raised his weapon. "Do not shoot, it might be friendly." The robot locked onto him. Non-human detected, threat level unknown, initiating protocol. It raised its built-in cannon arm. Saren cried, "Commander, move." The robot fired. A glowing round shot through the air, barely missing Thalren's head. It exploded behind them, shaking the corridor. The team scattered. Saren ducked behind an overturned metal crate. Vekor hid beneath a broken console panel. The robot turned toward Saren next. She whispered, terrified, "Please, please don't shoot." The robot paused, scanned her. Its voice glitched. "Human ally." Then sparks flew from its chest. It malfunctioned, jerking, twitching. Thalren used the moment. He fired at a weak spot where exposed wires hung from the robot's torso. The shot hit hard. The robot staggered, fell to one knee. "Commander," Vekor shouted, "shoot the primary core." Thalren aimed and fired again. The robot's glowing eye dimmed. It collapsed, smoke rising from its frame. Saren crawled out shakily. "Thank you, Commander," but their relief didn't last long. A distant roar echoed behind them. The creature had found the vents again, and it was getting closer. They ran again down another corridor, past broken doors, past collapsed areas. The ship trembled as the creature charged through the vents above. They reached the crew barracks, a large room filled with sleeping pods, lockers, and equipment. "Seal the doors," Thalren ordered. Vekor rushed to the control panel. On it. The doors slid shut just as something slammed into them from outside. Saren collapsed onto the floor, breathing hard. "Commander, this thing, it won't stop." Thalren looked around the barracks. "Search for weapons. Humans always keep emergency gear nearby." They split up. Saren checked lockers, empty. A soldier opened storage crates, broken items only. Vekor shouted, "Commander, over here." They gathered around a metal locker marked with human military symbols. Inside were long metal cylinders. Saren picked one up. "What is this?" Vekor scanned it. "Human thermal grenades, very powerful." Thalren nodded. "These might slow the creature down." The door shook again, harder. Boom, another strike. Saren whispered, "Commander, it's breaking in." Lights flickered. The door bent inward. Another boom, then silence. Thalren aimed his weapon. "Prepare yourselves." The door slowly peeled open, metal bending like cardboard. But the creature didn't jump inside. It stood in the opening, watching, studying them. It tilted its head slowly like it was choosing which alien to kill first. Vekor whispered, "Commander, these things, they don't just hunt, they think." Thalren held up a thermal grenade. Ready weapons, the creature stepped forward, then the ship lights went dark. A robotic voice whispered through the barrack speakers. "Warning, level 3 containment breach detected." Saren froze. "What level 3? That means," before she could finish, another sound crawled through the vents. Another growl, higher pitched, faster. Thalren's eyes widened. There is more than one creature. And they were no longer trapped with one monster, they were trapped with two. The hunt had just begun. The barracks door groaned under the weight of the giant creature. Metal bent inward like soft clay. The alien team stood in formation, weapons raised, breaths loud inside their helmets. Second creature's distant growl echoed through the vents above like a warning drumbeat. Saren whispered, "Commander, we're trapped. Two of them, we cannot fight both." Thalren didn't answer immediately. His black eyes watched the bending door. He studied each movement, each vibration, each hit. His mind ran fast. "In this room," he finally said, "we will die, all of us." Another hit, boom, a deep dent formed. A soldier stepped beside Thalren. "Commander, we hold them off. You take the others," and Thalren snapped, "Nobody sacrifices themselves unless I order it." The soldier lowered his head. Saren clutched the thermal grenades they had found earlier. "Commander, we could use these, maybe push it back." "No," Thalren said softly, "if you miss, we waste our only chance." Another soldier shouted from the back, "Commander, the vents, look." They all looked up. Metal grated. A long black arm slid out of a vent. The second creature. Saren's blood ran cold. It found us. The arm retreated. Silence. Thalren understood instantly. It's positioning itself. They are hunting us from two sides. The first creature hit the door again. Boom, the frame cracked. A soldier whispered, trembling, "We're dead. They're playing with us." Thalren grabbed his shoulder. "Not today. Listen carefully." Everyone moved to the back corner. Now. They rushed into the far corner of the barracks. It was tight, dim, surrounded by overturned beds and storage crates. Saren asked, "Why here?" Thalren pointed to the ceiling. "Because the vent above this area is too small for the second creature to crawl through." The team positioned themselves. The door bent deeper. Metal snapped. The creature forced its head through the gap, glowing eyes staring directly at them. Vekor screamed, "It's coming in!" The creature roared, smashing the door open. The aliens opened fire. Bolts of plasma lit up the room, hitting the creature's armored skin. The air filled with heat, smoke, and sparks, but the creature kept moving, slow but unstoppable. Thalren shouted, "Focus fire on the same spot." They aimed at the creature's left shoulder. After several hits, the armor there began to glow from heat. But the creature swiped with one massive arm. The nearest soldier didn't have time to move. The claw tore through him like paper. He was thrown across the room, hitting a locker with a sickening thud. He didn't move again. Saren screamed, "Commander, keep firing." The creature roared again as the armor on its shoulder cracked. For the first time they saw it bleed, a thick black liquid dripping from the wound. "Commander, we heard it," Vekor shouted, but the creature only grew more furious. It lunged forward. A second soldier tried to fire, but the creature slammed down on him, crushing him under its weight. Bones snapped, metal bent. A horrible choking sound escaped the soldier's mouth before everything went silent. Saren held back tears. "Commander, two gone, we need to run." Thalren nodded. "Agreed, everyone move." They dashed toward a side door behind the storage crates. The door was half broken, hanging at an angle, but still open enough for them to squeeze through. The creature followed quickly. It smashed through bunk beds, metal frames, lockers, destroying everything in its path. The team crawled through the tilted door just as the creature slammed into it from the other side. Thalren pressed a button on the wall. The emergency bulkhead door began to slide shut, slow but steady. "Hurry," Saren screamed. "It's pushing the door." The creature forced its claws inside the gap, trying to pry it open. The metal bent outward. Thalren threw a thermal grenade at the door. "Down," he shouted. The grenade exploded. The blast pushed the creature back and slammed the door shut fully. The metal glowed hot, bending slightly, but it held. For the moment, the team continued running through the narrow hallway. Behind them, the creature hammered the door again and again. Saren panted, "Commander, it won't stay trapped long." "I know, keep moving." The hallway led to an old storage bay filled with human crates and machine parts. A hanging light flickered, filling the room with long shadows. The team caught their breath. Vekor collapsed onto a crate. "We lost two, maybe more if we slowed down." Saren looked at Thalren. "Commander, what do we do now?" Thalren examined the room. His eyes landed on a large ventilation unit on the wall. It's too small for the creatures," Saren said, "but large enough for us," Thalren replied. "And ventilation shafts often connect to hangar routes or maintenance tunnels." A soldier shook his head. "Crawling through vents, Commander, that's insane." Thalren stared directly at him. "Staying here is suicide. Choose." The soldier swallowed. "Vents it is." They approached the vent. Suddenly thud, everyone froze. Another impact on the storage room door, but this one was different, not the same creature. The second one had arrived. Saren's voice shook. "Commander, both creatures are tracking us." Thalren pulled the metal panel off the vent. Inside now. They crawled inside one by one. The metal tunnels were tight, dark, echoing. Saren's breathing sounded loud in her own ears. Every inch of her body shook. Behind them, metal tore, claws scraped. The creatures had broken into the storage room and they were searching. The vent suddenly shook. Saren gasped, "Commander, it's hitting the wall." Another bang. The creatures were tracking their heat signatures through the metal. Thalren whispered urgently, "Faster, move faster." They crawled quickly around a bend. The vent dropped downward into a vertical shaft. Saren looked down. "A drop! We slide," Thalren said. "Go." One by one they slid down into a lower tunnel. The metal scratched their armor as they dropped. Saren landed hard but safe. Suddenly, boom, something slammed into the vent above. Dust rained down, then a long claw pierced through the vent ceiling where they had been seconds earlier. Saren screamed. "Go, go, go." They scrambled down another slope until the vent opened into a maintenance passage. The lights here were brighter. Screens flickered with human symbols. Broken wires sparked. Thalren exhaled. "We bought some time, not much, but enough." Saren wiped her eyes. "Commander, what now?" Thalren scanned the walls. A human sign read, "Maintenance Tunnel C, access to Medbay Armory Engine Core." Thalren smiled for the first time. "The armory, if human weapons still exist there, they can kill those creatures." Saren nodded. "Yes, humans build weapons for monsters." Behind them the vent groaned. They all turned. Dust shook loose again. The creatures were coming. Thalren raised his weapon. "Run now." The team sprinted down the maintenance passage toward the armory. Behind them the metal vent tore open and the creatures dropped into the tunnel. Their roars shook the entire hallway. The hunt was no longer beginning. It was in full force. And this time the creatures were faster and angrier and smarter. The aliens ran for their lives. And only human weapons could save them now. The maintenance passage shook as the two creatures dropped into the tunnel behind the alien team. Their combined roar filled the corridor, bouncing off the metal walls like thunder in a closed cage. Commander Thalren didn't look back. He could feel the vibrations in the floor with every monstrous step. "Faster," he shouted. "Do not stop for anything." Saren stumbled but recovered quickly, her heart pounding so fast she felt dizzy. The corridor lights flickered wildly as though the human ship itself sensed the monster's presence. Behind them, claws scraped the metal floor fast, too fast. A soldier screamed, "Commander, they're gaining." Thalren shouted back, "Run to the armory, it's our only chance." The squad sprinted through the narrow passage. Pipes hissed steam, flickering lights cast long shadows that twisted like hands reaching out from the darkness. Another roar, this time closer. Saren risked a quick look back. Huge black shapes thundered through the passage. One creature ran on all fours, claws stabbing the metal floor. The other crawled along the ceiling like an insect, its limbs bent in unnatural angles. Saren stumbled again. Thalren grabbed her arm without slowing. "Eyes forward, run." They reached a wide bulkhead door marked with human symbols. The letters were scratched, but Saren translated with her scanner. "Armory authorized personnel only." Vekor slid across the floor, stopping at the control panel. "Commander, this door is sealed." Thalren aimed his rifle at the panel. "Vekor, override it now." Vekor typed furiously, sparks flying from the old human console. "I'm trying. The ship's system is fighting me." The ceiling above them buckled as the second creature smashed into it from above. Dust and metal rained down. A long black arm broke through, swinging blindly. The soldier closest to the breach didn't even manage a scream. Claw impaled him, lifted him like a toy, and pulled him upward into the dark hole. Thalren shouted, "Vekor, open IT." Vekor cried, "I can't, the system is." Wait. The first creature reached the corner and charged. Thalren pulled Saren behind him and fired. Plasma bolts hit the beast's head, burning the skin but doing little else. "Commander, it's not slowing." Saren screamed. Vekor shouted suddenly, door opening. The bulkhead split slowly, painfully slow. Grinding along old tracks, the creatures roared louder. The alien team shoved through the widening gap, squeezing into the dark armory as the door creaked open. Thalren was the last to enter. He dove inside just as the first creature rammed into the door, bending it inward. The bulkhead slammed shut. Silence followed, only the hum of old machines. Saren collapsed on the floor, shaking. "Commander, 2 more dead, we're down to 4. Thalren checked his weapon, voice heavy. "We must make their deaths mean something." Vekor approached the bulkhead. The metal was already bending. "Commander, they won't stay out long." Thalren turned to face the room. "Then we find human weapons fast." The armory was enormous. Rows of metal racks lined the walls. Weapons of strange human design hung in place. Rifles, cannons, blades, odd tubes, heavy crates with warning labels. Dust coated everything. But one thing was clear, the humans prepared this place for war. Saren walked carefully, her eyes wide. "Commander, humans built so many weapons, why keep so many here?" Thalren answered softly, "Because humans always prepare for the worst." Vekor scanned a row of large cylindrical devices. "Commander, these are fusion charges, they could blow up half this ship." "No," Thalren replied firmly, "we need weapons that can kill those creatures, not destroy ourselves." Saren moved deeper into the armory and stopped at a long metal table. "Commander, look at this." Thalren joined her. On the table lay something different than the rest. Sleek silver with glowing blue indicators, a human experimental weapon. The label underneath read Proto Mk7 Anti-Titan Cannon Status. Field testing incomplete. Vekor's eyes widened. Commander, this weapon was designed to kill massive enemies. Saren whispered. Like the creatures outside, Thalren studied the weapon. Can we power it? Vekor ran to a nearby crate, picked up a small glowing cell, a power core. If it fits, he inserted the core. The weapon hummed to life. Everyone flinched. A blue energy line lit across the barrel. Saren whispered, Commander, it works. But before they could celebrate, thud, the bulkhead door dented inward, then again and again. The creatures knew they were inside. Thalren grabbed the anti-Titan cannon. Vekor, help me lift this. They carried it to the middle of the room. Saren grabbed a smaller human rifle, heavier than her alien weapon. She tested it. The charge mechanism still worked. We fight here, she said. Thalren nodded. We make our stand. The door bent so far inward they could see claws pushing through. Saren raised her new weapon. Commander, thank you for not leaving us behind. Thalren answered quietly, we survive together or die together. The door exploded inward. Both creatures burst into the room. The first creature rushed in low, claws slicing the floor. The second leapt onto the ceiling beams, crawling above like a giant shadow. Saren fired the human rifle. A powerful kinetic bolt shot forward and slammed into the first creature's head, knocking it sideways. For once, Saren whispered, their weapons work. But the creature recovered quickly, too quickly. It charged at her. At the same time, the second creature dropped from above straight toward Vekor. Commander, Vekor screamed. Thalren spun the anti-Titan cannon around. Hold them still. Saren fired again and again, forcing the first creature to slow as it protected its head. The second creature reached Vekor, knocking him down and smashing him against the floor, but before it could kill him, Thalren pulled the cannon trigger. The gun released a massive bolt of blue energy. The shot hit the ceiling creature dead center. A blinding flash filled the room. The creature screamed, a horrible sound that rattled every bone in their bodies. It fell twitching, its armor cracked open. Black blood spilled everywhere. It works, Vekor shouted. Commander, IT works, but they had no time to celebrate. The other creature roared in fury. It charged at Thalren. Saren ran forward and fired the human rifle directly into its mouth. The recoil knocked her back. But the creature was stunned. Thalren aimed the cannon. The creature lunged. Thalren fired. The blast hit the creature's chest, blowing a hole straight through it. The creature fell. Silence. Thalren lowered the cannon, breathing heavily. Saren sat down on the floor, tears running down her cheeks. Commander, we killed them. We actually killed them. Vekor staggered to his feet, limping. Humans, their weapons, they built these to fight monsters. Thalren stared at the two dead creatures. No. He said softly, they built these because they knew bigger monsters existed. Saren looked at him. Bigger? Commander, what could be worse than these? Thalren didn't answer because at that moment the floor beneath them shook. A low, deep, impossible sound echoed through the ship, much larger, much angrier, much older. Saren froze. Commander, what was that? Thalren gripped the cannon tighter. It was not these creatures, he said. Then the human ship's computer activated. Warning. The robotic voice said, Level 0 threat detected. Vekor gulped. Level 0, Saren whispered. Commander, that's the highest level. What does it mean? Thalren looked toward the dark hallway. It means, he said quietly, we have not met the real enemy yet. The armory felt too quiet, too still, too wrong. The bodies of the two slain creatures lay smoking on the metal floor, their black blood spreading slowly like oil. The alien team, what was left of it, stood frozen as the human ship repeated the same message in its cold, mechanical voice. Warning, Level 0 threat detected. Saren whispered, Commander, Level 0, does that mean? Thalren didn't answer. His black eyes stayed locked on the dark hallway that led deeper into the human ship. Vekor, still limping from the creature's attack, swallowed hard. Commander, I have never heard of a Level 0. Humans didn't have a level that low, did they? Thalren shook his head slowly. Humans only used lower numbers for impossible threats, things that break rules, things that you don't survive. The floor vibrated again just slightly, not a hit, not a creature walking, more like a heartbeat, something alive, something enormous. Saren whispered, Commander, we cannot fight something bigger than those two. Thalren held the massive anti-Titan cannon tightly. We won't fight it. Not unless we must. Our goal is to escape. Vekor checked the power cell on the cannon. Commander, the charge is low. One more shot, maybe two. And that shot, Thalren said, must be perfect. The hallway lights flickered, turning from red to a sickly green. The ship spoke again. Prepare for Level 0 protocol. The temperature dropped instantly. Saren hugged herself, shivering. Why is it getting cold? The ship was warm before, Vekor answered quietly. Cold means something is draining energy, a large system, or he stopped. He didn't want to finish the sentence. Thalren moved to the doorway, raising a hand. Form up, we move to the medbay. Human medical bays often have sealed doors. They're built like bunkers. We can regroup there. Saren nodded, though fear still shook her voice. And from there, maybe we can reach escape pods. Vekor added, if they still exist. They moved carefully down the corridor. Lights flickered above, shadows twisted on the walls, some long, some short, some shifting in ways shadows should not. Saren winced. The shadows, Commander, they are moving. Thalren didn't look. Ignore them, keep your eyes forward. But Saren couldn't help glancing. She wished she hadn't. A tall, thin shadow moved against the wall without anything casting it. Saren clamped a hand over her mouth to stop a scream. Vekor whispered, Commander, this ship, it's reacting to us, it's changing. No, Thalren said softly, it's reacting to something else, something stronger. Another vibration traveled through the floor. This time the walls pulsed with it, like a heartbeat, slow, steady, growing louder. They reached a wide door marked Medbay Restricted Access. Saren rushed forward. Let's go inside. The door didn't open. Its screen flashed in human text, locked, level 0 threat active. Thalren cursed under his breath. The ship sealed it. Before anyone could react, the lights went out, pitch black all at once. Saren screamed softly, then white emergency lights snapped on. The hallway behind them was empty, but something had changed. Thalren raised his weapon. Stay close. Vekor checked his scanner, which vibrated with static. Commander, I'm detecting movement, many signals all around us, but they're not creatures. There, he stopped when a figure appeared at the far end of the corridor. Saren gasped. A human, a tall, armored silhouette stood perfectly still. The figure was wearing a torn human combat suit, the visor cracked. Blood stains covered the armor, but the figure didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't blink. Thalren whispered, that is no human. The figure tilted its head sharply, too sharply for a living creature. Then it took a single step, its foot made no sound, another step, then another. It was walking toward them. Saren whispered, Commander, what do we do? Thalren raised the cannon, prepare to fire. The figure stopped mid-step and then it vanished, not ran, not ducked, vanished. Saren screamed, where did IT go? Move, Thalren shouted. Before they could run, the ceiling above bent inward. A huge metal panel snapped open and something dropped behind them, a dark shape, a human corpse, but it stood upright. Its eyes glowed faint blue. Vekor whispered, shaking, Commander, is that a zombie? No, Thalren said. Stepping back, that is a human exosoldier, dead but still controlled by the ship. The corpse moved suddenly, jerking unnaturally, then it sprinted toward them with impossible speed. Saren fired the human rifle, shots tearing through the exosuit, but the corpse didn't fall. It slammed into one of the remaining soldiers, knocking him to the ground. The corpse tore at him violently. Bones snapped, blood sprayed. The soldier screamed once and then was silent. Saren cried, Commander, help him, he's gone. Thalren barked, run. They sprinted down the hallway, leaving the dead soldier behind. The corpse began running after them again. Vekor cried, Commander, shoot. Thalren turned, aimed the anti-Titan cannon, fired. A massive bolt shot down the corridor, engulfing the corpse in blue energy. The human exosoldier exploded into ash. The hallway went silent. Saren trembled. Commander, what is happening on this ship? Thalren stared at the scorched floor. Something has taken control, something old, something strong, something the humans fought. And lost? Saren asked. Thalren nodded slowly. Yes, they lost. They reached a large chamber. Lights flickered, showing medical pods, human beds, and broken medical screens. The medbay door suddenly unlocked on its own. Saren froze. Commander, that's not normal. Thalren held up his hand. Weapons ready, move slowly. They entered the medbay. Immediately, the medbay door sealed shut behind them. Saren spun around. No, we're trapped again. Vekor checked the door panel. It had sealed on its own, just like the armory. Thalren looked around. The medbay was dark except for one glowing pod in the center, a human cryopod. Steam leaked from its cracked glass. A heartbeat monitor flashed weakly. Saren approached slowly. Commander, is someone inside? Thalren joined her. Inside the cryopod was a human soldier. Armored, wounded, frozen, but alive, barely. The heartbeat monitor beeped weakly. Vekor murmured, Commander, a real human alive. Saren whispered, should we wake him? Thalren hesitated, but then the ship spoke again, level 0 subject awakening. Saren's eyes widened. Commander, the human is the level 0 threat. Thalren stared at the pod. The human's eyes snapped open, bright white, glowing. Saren screamed. Vekor stumbled backward. Commander, what is he? The cryopod hissed and the human sat up, slow, controlled, terrifying. He spoke, his voice deep, broken but powerful. Intruders. He looked directly at Thalren. You should not be here, Saren whispered, shaking uncontrollably. Commander, what do we do? Thalren raised his weapon, but his hands trembled. For the first time in his life, Commander Thalren felt true fear. The human stepped out of the pod. Steam rising from his armor. He stood tall, stronger than any creature they had fought. His eyes glowed brighter. He lifted his hand and the entire medbay shook. Lights shattered. The air turned cold. The heartbeat in the floor grew louder. Saren whispered the final words of the chapter. Commander, I think humans are the real monsters. The medbay shook as the human super soldier stepped out of the cryopod. Steam drifted from his cracked armor, rising like smoke from a still burning fire. His glowing white eyes scanned the room with slow, unnatural precision. Each step he took made the floor vibrate. He didn't walk like something alive. He walked like something that had died long ago and learned movement again. Saren pressed herself against the wall, breathing so fast she thought she'd faint. Commander, what is he? Thalren didn't answer. He didn't know how. He only knew one thing: this wasn't a soldier. This was a nightmare humans built. The human tilted his head, as if listening to something only he could hear. Then he smiled, a terrifying, empty smile. "Intruders," he said again, voice echoing through the medbay like a deep, metallic whisper. "You opened my cage," Saren whispered. "Commander, he's talking like we freed him." Thalren slowly lifted the anti-Titan cannon. His hands shook. "Human, state your intentions." The super soldier's smile widened. "Intentions." He took one more step. Every screen in the medbay shattered at once. Saren screamed and covered her head. Vekor fell to his knees. The lights flickered violently, switching between red, blue, and white like the ship was panicking. Thalren stood his ground. "Stay behind me." The human raised one hand and the air grew heavy, like gravity had doubled. Saren fell to the ground. Vekor collapsed, gasping. A soldier screamed as his armor dented inward from the pressure. Thalren gritted his teeth, forcing his legs to stay straight. "What are you doing?" The human tilted his head, testing the limits of my vessel. Then he snapped his fingers. The soldier on the floor spasmed and exploded. Bloody armor pieces flew across the room. Saren screamed. Vekor crawled backward, eyes wide in terror. "Commander, he didn't even touch him." Thalren raised the anti-Titan cannon and fired. The blast hit the human in the chest. A massive blue explosion filled the room. Saren shielded her face. Metal cabinets overturned. Beds burst apart. Smoke filled the air. For a moment, silence. Vekor coughed. "Commander, did we kill him?" The smoke cleared. Thalren's heart stopped. The human stood there, untouched, not a scratch on his armor. He looked down at the scorch mark on the floor and nodded slowly. "Impact insufficient." Saren whispered, "Commander, we are dead." The human moved, not walked, teleported. One instant he stood by the pod, the next he appeared behind the remaining soldier. The soldier turned, too slow. The human grabbed him by the throat, lifted him off the ground like he weighed nothing. The soldier kicked, clawed, screamed, but the human squeezed. A loud crack echoed. The soldier's body went limp. The human dropped him like trash. Vekor vomited inside his helmet. Saren cried, "Commander, please, please, we need to run." Thalren grabbed her arm. "Move." They sprinted toward the back of the medbay where a maintenance hatch sat half open. As they ran, the human didn't chase. He simply walked, slow, calm, confident, like he knew they couldn't escape. The door sensors blinked red. Vekor screamed, "Commander, it's locked." Thalren slammed his fist into the panel. "Override it." I can't, the system is." A whisper cut him off. "Right behind them. You cannot hide." Saren gasped and spun around. The human stood inches away. Vekor screamed as the human reached for him. Thalren shoved Vekor aside. "Run." The human's hand closed around Thalren's shoulder instead. An instant later, Thalren was thrown across the room like a broken doll. He smashed into a metal counter so hard the entire unit bent. He coughed blood into his helmet. Saren screamed, "Commander." The human didn't even look at Thalren. He stepped towards Saren. Vekor grabbed her hand and pulled her through the hatch just as the human reached out. The hatch snapped shut. The human's hand left a deep dent in the metal. Saren sobbed, "Commander, Commander." Thalren's voice crackled weakly through the comm. "Go, leave me, save yourselves." Saren shook her head, tears streaming. "We can't leave you." The human's footsteps echoed through the medbay, slow and patient. "Your leader is brave," he said through the door. "Bravery is rare. I will end him last." Saren screamed into her mic, "No, please," inside the medbay. Thalren crawled toward his dropped weapon. His arm shook violently. Blood dripped from his mouth, but he still reached for the gun. The human appeared over him, looking down like a god staring at an insect. "Why resist?" he asked softly. "Your species is weak." Thalren spit blood on the human's boot. "We don't bow." The human stepped on Thalren's arm. Bones shattered instantly. Thalren screamed. The human leaned down, whispering, "Then you die in pain." He lifted Thalren by the skull and crushed his helmet. Saren heard his final scream through the comm before it cut out completely. She collapsed, sobbing uncontrollably. "Commander, no, no." Vekor pulled her down the tunnel. "Saren, we need to move now." The human ripped open the hatch door with his bare hands. The entire maintenance tunnel shook. Saren and Vekor ran through the narrow passage, gasping, stumbling, terrified beyond words. Behind them, the human spoke calmly, "Run, it makes the hunt interesting." Saren screamed and sprinted even faster. The tunnel opened into a large reactor bay. Machines hummed, lights flickered, and exposed pipes vented steam. Vekor stumbled and fell. "Saren, go, I'll slow him down." Saren shook her head violently. "I won't leave you." Vekor pushed her away. "Run." Saren ran. Vekor turned, weapon shaking in his hand. The human stepped into the reactor bay. Glowing eyes fixed on him. Vekor fired shot after shot, blue plasma bolts hitting the human's armor. The human kept walking, each step calm, each step quiet. Vekor screamed, "Why won't you die?" The human tilted his head, "Because I am the weapon." He raised his hand, energy crackled around his fingers. Vekor froze, realizing he couldn't move. The human smiled. "Goodbye." Vekor exploded, bones, armor, everything. Saren heard him die around the corner. Her lungs burned as she ran across a bridge suspended over the reactor core. Bright blue energy pulsed below like a glowing ocean. The human appeared behind her, walking, not running, walking. Saren sobbed, "Please stop, stop." He didn't. He stepped onto the bridge. His voice echoed through the reactor bay. "You saw things you should not see. You breathed in a place meant only for the dead." The bridge shook, panels fell off. Saren reached the far end and slammed her hand on a control panel. Come on, open. The door didn't open. The human raised his hand, preparing to crush her like the others. Saren whispered, please, someone help. The reactor suddenly roared. The bridge shook violently. The human paused, looked down, then Saren saw something she never expected. Fear. Actual fear flickered in his white eyes. A deep voice echoed from the reactor below, unauthorized entity detected. The ship spoke again, activating emergency purge. Saren fell backward as the bridge collapsed behind her. The human grabbed the edge barely. He hung from one hand, staring down into the reactor. The ship warned again, purge in 3. The human snarled and clawed upward. 2. His hand reached toward Saren's ankle. 1. The reactor opened. Blue fire roared upward like a sun waking in a narrow shaft. The human screamed, the first real scream he had made. He fell into the reactor, into the burning core of the human warship. Saren collapsed on the floor, shaking violently. The ship spoke softly, level 0 threat terminated. Saren sobbed into her hands. She was the only one left, the only survivor, and the galaxy would never believe her story.